Today I am being sworn in for a new term. And before I get into that, I did want to take a moment to reflect on the massacre that occurred in New Orleans and the explosion in Las Vegas. First and foremost, my heart goes out to all of those victims and people impacted by this and their loved ones. And I also want to give thanks to our law enforcement and first responders who ran towards danger and prevented further harm from happening. There's a lot that is still unknown, and I am closely monitoring the developments here because my highest priority is keeping Wisconsinites and Americans safe. And I stand ready to help in any way I can to achieve that moving forward. So serving the people of Wisconsin is truly an honor and a responsibility that I do not take lightly. When I was first elected, a lot of people told me I was making history. I would always say, I didn't run to make history. I ran to make a difference. It is still my goal to show up everywhere, to listen, and to make a difference for the people of Wisconsin. And I'm proud of what we've been able to accomplish together. We've lowered the cost of healthcare and prescription drugs for families, allowing young people to stay on their parents' insurance until they're 26 years old, thanks to a provision I wrote. And we've stood up to the big drug companies to lower prescription drug costs. We've invested in our Made in Wisconsin economy. We've stood up to China and strengthened Buy America rules that ensure that when we invest taxpayer dollars, that we're supporting American businesses and workers. We've supported our farmers and rural communities with new programs like my Dairy Business Innovation Initiative to help them innovate and grow their businesses. While it is a new year and a new term, my job is the same. Show up, listen, and work with anyone to deliver for our state. That's the roadmap I've followed, even when the road ahead looks uncertain. And while I'm proud of what we've accomplished, there's more work left to do. I will continue to stand up to Wall Street or to any special interest to bring down the cost of healthcare, childcare, and housing, and give working families a little bit more breathing room. We have work to do to stand up to China and big corporations that are shipping our jobs overseas and strengthen our Made in Wisconsin economy to create good paying jobs and keep our supply chains right here in America. I also know that costs are still too high for Wisconsinites, and I'm working to help address the things that keep families up at night, like the cost of prescription drugs and healthcare. You can bet that I will keep working to expand coverage, lower costs, restore reproductive rights, and stand up to any efforts to repeal the Affordable Care Act and take away health care from thousands of Wisconsinites. I also know firsthand the pain and the heartache of the opioid crisis is still what it's still causing in every community across our state and across our country. With fentanyl still claiming the lives of way too many of our neighbors and loved ones, we have serious work to do to secure our border and get our communities the tools they need to combat this crisis. I also carry on Wisconsin's proud tradition of taking care of our natural resources, from the Great Lakes to the mighty Mississippi. Wisconsin's waters support our local economies and are central to our Wisconsin way of life. And I'll stand up to any efforts to roll back protections that keep those waters clean and safe. It is and continues to be an honor of my lifetime to serve as your United States Senator and fight for you every day. I look forward to continuing my work for Wisconsin to make sure we keep moving in one direction, forward. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Senator Baldwin. Just a reminder that questions should be submitted to the chat with the Q&A function. I will get through as many as I can with Senator Baldwin. If you have any follow-up questions we don't get to, please direct them to our office via email. And our first one up here, Senator, what will it look like for you to be productive in the Senate when Democrats are in the minority?
Well, look, I've dealt with this before. I work with Republicans when I can, and I fight when I have to. But always I'm focused on doing what's best for the state of Wisconsin. On, say, the Farm Bill or my Buy America provisions or stopping the flow of fentanyl, I have a long history of working with Republicans on all of those issues, and I will continue that work in order to deliver for Wisconsin. There are so many issues that we deal with that aren't partisan, that don't have to do with right or left. They have to do with taking the right steps for the people that we represent. And I have a long history of reaching across the aisle on important pieces of legislation. But I can tell you, if they make good on their threats to once again try to repeal, for example, the Affordable Care Act, or try to pass a national abortion ban, or hand out trillions of dollars in new tax breaks to billionaires, I will fight back.
Great. Next question here. What will your standards be when reviewing President Trump's cabinet nominees?
Yes, well, first of all, I will give everyone a fair shake and give them due consideration. But I will not compromise if somebody might hurt Wisconsin families, veterans, businesses. I will tell you that there are some controversial picks among the group. And the committees on which I sit, Appropriations, Commerce, Transportation, Science, and the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, will get to have hearings with those nominees, the subject matters that I just described. Those nominees will come before our committees. And I will get my chance to raise questions. And my litmus test will be about Wisconsin. And so, by way of example, I've had a chance already to meet with and discuss matters with Sean Duffy, President-elect Trump's nominee to be the Transportation Secretary. I have worked with transportation issues with Sean Duffy before when he served in the House of Representatives, and I would love to see a Wisconsinite take that role. And so I'm inclined, because of my litmus test of will this be a good fit for the state of Wisconsin, I'm inclined to support Sean Duffy. But we also have probably coming before the health panel, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has made some very controversial stances in the past. And again, I think of Wisconsin. We RFK, if confirmed, would oversee a department that has a key lead role in biomedical research. That's really key, that we find treatments and cures. And we have a lot of research going on at our universities in the state of Wisconsin. But I also want to make sure that in terms of public health, that our kids don't get the mumps and the measles or polio. And so I'm going to be questioning him very carefully about his positions on vaccines. And that's just a sampling of what I expect to see in the coming weeks.
Great. Could you outline what your top priorities are for the new term? Are they different or the same as your prior terms in the Senate?
Yes, well, as I mentioned, my priorities are guided from what I hear from Wisconsinites and businesses and working families. And I'm laser focused on what I hear the most of these days, which is cutting costs for families and creating pathways to good paying jobs, family supporting jobs, and to make sure that everyone can get good health care. And as you know, I am a champion of protecting everybody's rights and freedoms, including women's right to choose and have full reproductive freedom. So on lowering costs for families, I know that Wisconsin families and businesses are struggling to make ends meet right now. This past election was very much about the economy. And that's why I've never been afraid to stand up to big and powerful interests, whether that be Wall Street or big multinational corporations, to lower the costs and make sure that Wisconsinites have the opportunity to have stable middle-class lives and healthcare. Look, I got into public service around that issue. And because I saw up close, it's a personal issue for me and my family. Whether it's fighting to lower prescription drug costs or expanding access to quality care, I'm working to make sure that everyone can get the care that they need at the price that they can afford. And while this will be an uphill battle on reproductive choice, I will not stop fighting to restore and protect the rights and freedoms of women across our state and across our country. And we need to also protect families' rights to get birth control, access IVF, and finally work towards the day when we can restore Roe v. Wade as the law of the land.
And I think we have time for one more final question here. On a personal level, how different does it feel going into a Republican-led Congress versus a Democratic one?
You know, whether it was when I served in the House or as I've served in the Senate, I've had the opportunity to serve as part of the majority party and as part of the minority party. And I can say, especially in the Senate, where it requires bipartisanship to get most things done, most of the bills that we pass have to overcome a filibuster, which means they need 60 votes. We have always known, and I've always known since I've been a part of the United States Senate, that in order to get things done, we have to work together. And I will focus very fiercely on the issues that I know don't split the parties, as I outlined earlier. And I will fight to pick up allies on issues, again, that focus on lowering costs for Wisconsin families, creating a pathway to great paying jobs, and protecting our natural resources and our access to high quality health care.